Working Fans Podcast. Cool.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Coming down 3, 2.
Welcome back for another week of the Working Fans Podcast. This is AJ. I'm the former wrestler. We've got Dave, the ultimate fan, here with us. As we do every week, our producer Joe likes to make us sound good and makes us look way more professional than we actually are. As always, you can find us on Twitter, that's @FansWorking, Facebook, Working Fans Pod. We've got email where you can reach out to us and please contact us to let us know what you think of the podcast and for any ideas that you might have. That's workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. We're on Instagram where you can keep up with us at workingfanswrestling_pod. And then you can now listen to us on all major platforms, including Anchor.fm. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Apple Podcasts, and you can actually check us out on YouTube. Now, it's important when you go onto the Apple Podcasts and YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a rating, let us know what you think so you can help us out and we can continue to do what we love and bring you guys in as fans.
Working Fans Podcast, welcome back for another week of the 531, where we take a top 5 list on a particular subject, debate it down to a top 3, and apparently Zach says there is no top 1, so it is the king of the hill, the cream of the crop, the man with the crown, the number 1 spot. And this week we're going to have the top 5 people that should have been Horsemen. And to kind of give you an idea what we're looking at, Zach has our first list, and he's got Stunning Steve Austin, Rick Rude, Midnight Express, Shawn Michaels, and MJF. Scott's got a list. He's got the Midnight Express, Mr. Perfect, Stunning Steve Austin coming in alongside Brian Pillman. I'm going to guess he means that Hollywood Blondes era. I don't know if they teamed outside of that at all.
No, that's the Hollywood Blondes era.
Okay. Chris Jericho and Rick Rude. Couple solid lists so far.
Yeah.
Jake has our next list. He's got Stunning Steve Austin, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Shane Douglas, and Adam Cole.
Very interesting, Shane Douglas. Seeing how much Shane Douglas legit had heat and didn't like Ric Flair. But he would have made a good Horseman, I think.
Yeah, maybe it would have been in a time just after Flair goes back to WWE one time. Why not put Shane Douglas in there? Interesting pick.
What are you looking for?
What's that?
I think it's almost like what you're looking for. When I think of the Horsemen, I think of guys that can wrestle, can talk, good-looking guys who are hit with the ladies, and besides being like Ric Flair, you got the Iron Anderson role, but then you also have kind of maybe that young upstart sometimes too that you can kind of strap a rocket to.
Well, what's your opinion of the Midnight Express in that position? Because we've got them on a couple lists.
The Midnight Express would have been great because they both can work. Now, Bobby couldn't really talk, but he would have been such a good, in all the tag teams they would have done, besides teaming with Stan. I mean, you put Bobby in the 6-man, he was just the glue that would hold it all together. And as for Stan Lane, he had to look as well, because, spoiler, you're going to be hearing about Stan Lane on my list. So.
Nice. Now, Randy brought us a list. Randy Osgood, fan of the show. He had
number 1 fan, Patreon. Love this guy. Randy hit us.
Future Patreon. People that are listening, we don't yet have a Patreon, but believe me, we're looking to put one together soon. If you think it's a good idea, email us. Tell us what you'd like out of a Patreon.
Sure.
But we're going to tell you what Randy likes out of a list. He's got Seth Rollins, John Cena, Wardlow, Rey Mysterio, and Eli Drake.
The only guy I really liked on that list is Eli Drake. Seth, on the right circumstances, maybe. Cena, I don't see him fitting a Horseman because of his, I don't know, I think it's the whole rapping, jean shorts. Mysterio, I don't remember any luchadors for Horseman. Wardlow, it's a little early to tell if he could have fit that muscle role, But I guess, you can kind of almost see that. But
I think if anything, I see him and Cena both coming in that muscle role, but like also in a suit.
Right. His list is a little out of the box. I'll give him that. But I mean, as far as guys, I think just based off their current day character, the only one I see really fitting in there would be a guy like Eli Drake who can talk.
Yeah, and he would actually have to be at a time when you don't have a Flair in there too, because almost like similar energies a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Tully could have carried the Horseman too on that argument, but at the end of the day, it was going to be carried by Rick. I guess it all depends with, I think Eli would make a good Horseman, but would he eventually outgrow a Horseman? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, he would. It would be like a transitional spot for him. Now, Mike Flynn brought us 2 lists this week because, as with any of these lists, sometimes they're a little bit open to interpretation. So Mike Flynn had a list. If it was just in WCW, I believe at the time, or just in WCW period, he would have Chris Jericho, Rick Rude, Stunning Steve Austin, Eddie Guerrero, and a young AJ Styles.
Interesting. AJ would have been a very interesting one just because of the way he could work.
I mean, we kind of saw in TNA what he is underneath Flair's tutelage with the robes and shit.
Yeah, I know you saw Fortune. Yeah, we did the Fortune thing. That was good.
Yeah.
I don't know if he liked it at the time. Because I think he was kind of like I don't think he liked being the mini Ric Flair type thing. But I thought that, I don't know, I liked Fortune. I thought it was interesting. I've always liked factions that like that. And, I liked Evolution. To me, it was like kind of a homage to, the Horsemen. And I don't know, I've always been a big fan of it.
Yeah, it was weird. It was almost like the Horseman, but with Flair in the J.J. Dillon role now. And that's why if they had a modern-day Horseman, I would be excited to see Arn Anderson, Tully. It's the one thing that, like, AEW almost needs to do, but how do you pull it off, right?
I mean, even in the NWA, Risky Business, with Nick Aldis as the champ, it kind of reminds me a little Horseman-esque. Not quite, but there's definitely elements there. And
with them, Camille, the female, is the muscle, so that's an even more interesting twist on the idea.
Yeah, that almost adds like a China DX dynamic with it, so that's why it's very interesting. But yeah, I'm a fan of those guys too. Eddie
Guerrero could almost fit that Gino Hernandez role that Bruce Pritchard always talks about seeing Hernandez in, so I think that's an interesting pick. Now, Mike Flynn also has a list of, if it was just anyone, he would choose Chris Jericho, Rick Rude, Steve Austin, I'm going to assume Stunning Steve again, but the only reason I question myself is because instead of young AJ Styles this time, if it was anyone, he would like to see peak AJ Styles in there. And then 5 is Adam Cole. It would almost be interesting to hear, I guess because AJ Styles was young when he was in WCW and anything afterwards was his peak and his growing time. I don't know if I see necessarily a peak AJ Styles in the Horseman. It just doesn't seem like his personality.
A lot of it really depends, like, how you interpret this, too. Like, I could see AJ making a good Horseman, but again, I don't know how long it would last. And, again, Ric Flair was going to be the man in the Horseman no matter what.
True. Now, AJ not here this week, but he definitely brought us a list. His list is topped by Kurt Hennig. Gino Hernandez is next. Stunning Steve Austin is 3rd. Rick Rude is 4th. And Lord Steven Regal is 5th.
Okay. 2 things. I want to point out, too, for anyone who hears this, and Scott talked about this, too, and I think AJ had the same mindset. Yes, Kurt Hennig was technically a member of the Horsemen, but it only lasted a week. It was all to set up an angle where he was going to turn on them.
Oh, right.
So, anyone who thinks you don't know. Yeah, we do know that.
So they both put Mr. Perfect, and in my head I just said Hennig, not even thinking that you want more of a peak level Hennig than what you got in the Horseman or the run he had.
Yeah, you would like to see how he would have actually fit in that group of long haul. It's a little hard to say he was a Horseman for only a week and set up an angle, but technically, I can see the people going, well, actually, Kurt Hennig was a Horseman, so let's just put it out there. We know.
Now that you mention that, I think I remember that in the text.
Yeah, Scott had mentioned it, yeah. As for Steve Regal, That's an interesting pick. My picks are more like guys I thought who fit that lifestyle and that look. Regal didn't necessarily have that look all the time, and we didn't really have a guy like.
He could definitely fit that lifestyle.
Well, yeah.
I mean, part of it.
But, he could dress well, and the guy could go in the ring, so he would have been an interesting horseman. I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I just want to say that's an interesting pick, and that's one that actually got me thinking. So good on AJ for coming up with Steve Regal.
And I see him almost going into the Horseman, but being like that lone wolf in the Horseman with him and Bill Dundee as his manager. And I can see it being a thing where he's with the Horseman because he's got that British aristocratic air. And then I see him breaking away from the Horseman almost at first chance. Now, Jesse from New Hampshire has our next list, and he has Bobby Heenan, Alex Wright, Rick Rude, Scott Steiner, and Rick Steiner.
Okay. Very interesting list. First off, Bobby Heenan and that JJ list. That's an awesome idea. I didn't think about that. Second, Alex Wright would be a pick that maybe some people will go, I don't know, and maybe gain some heat, but, again, probably would have been good with the ladies, would have attracted them. He's an interesting one. One I'm not going to say I like or dislike, but much like Regal gets me thinking, I wonder how he would have fit. The Steiner, that's like throwing the Midnight Express in there. Now you just kind of put the tag team in, but boy, there are a couple of badasses that could beat you down. So again, interesting pick there too. I like it.
And the way I see the Steiners coming in is you start them off in the Michigan jackets from that era. You bring them in, and you almost run an angle where like you're trying to sophisticate them, like you're trying to get them in suits. They can go in the ring, but it's trying to maybe get them into the Horseman lifestyle where you could get some lifeline out of that pairing. Now, they
make a good Minnesota wrecking crew, just like being Ole and Iron.
Yeah, that's true. Now, former guest on the show, Chris Zauha from the Rockin' Randy's Rockin' Wrestling Group, he only had Paul Orndorff and Steve Austin on his list. And it's not a bad list, to the point.
No, Paul Orndorff is a great addition to that list. There's a guy that, likes to wear the fancy robes and also just a tough son of a bitch, too. So he would have been a very good one.
It's almost like that Paul Roma. Like, if you had Orndorff instead of Roma, how much more would people remember his run necessarily? Yeah.
I think Roma was hurt by the stigma. Like, Triple H said it best, I think, on a DVD of The Horseman. He said, when they announced Paul Roma, everybody's reaction was like, the job guy from WWE? And unfortunately, that's just, even though he had a good run as Power and Glory, Jake will tell you that was a favorite underrated team of his, Zach too. And I like him as well. He's using a superplex top rope splash as a finisher, which was very unique back in that day. But Roma was hurt kind of by a stigma going in, and for that reason, probably really didn't lend a lot of credibility and wasn't necessarily a good fit for the Horsemen. But on paper, he kind of looks the part, dressed nice,
Yeah. Now, the next list we have up, this is an interesting list from Shard Johnson in the Rockin' Randy's Rockin' Wrestling Group. And the way he gave the list was, I'll read it off and you'll understand where I'm going. It says Revival / Arn and Tully. So Revival in the Arn and Tully role. MJF / Flair. So MJF in the Flair role. Trevor Murdoch / Ole. So Trevor Murdoch in that Ole role. And then Tully in the JJ role.
Interesting. So this is almost like this is the Horseman you could see right now. Like, I mean, especially if Trevor was an AEW, this could definitely be almost a possibility. It's a very interesting list.
Yeah, and when I saw him do it, I almost got jealous because I'm like, shit, if I had only thought to, put together your modern Four Horsemen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Thor made it into the room. Thor, say hello. This little motherfucker pushed the door open against all odds. He's really a worker.
Cool.
All right, so where the fuck were we? My list is next.
Thor.
Yeah, giving Thor the goddamn business.
Thor's getting over.
My list is next. I got Stunning Steve Austin, Eli Drake, Chris Jericho, Midnight Express, and MJF.
Interesting. All solid. I don't know why. It's funny you say it too. Stunning Steve Austin would have made a good Horseman. Stone Cold Steve Austin, not so much.
No, and I mean, no, I can't see it. And if you had him in there at all, it would almost be like that thing where the Horsemen are trying to civilize him, almost like the idea I was pitching with the Steiners. But I imagine it just to go not well with Austin. Like, he would be a member of the Horsemen technically, but he would be just such an outside force that you would just think of him as something separate. Now, Dave, we are down to one person we haven't heard from yet. Who do you got on your list?
Main event time, baby. I'm going to bring it to you. Like AJ, I thought Dino Hernandez would have been a good fit for the Horsemen. He's kind of like, he's a team with Tully Blanchard. I think he just kind of, he lived that lifestyle in and out of the ring, as we all know, if you know about Dino. And he can go in the ring. He would have been a good fit. Nick Aldis. Maybe because Nick would have had to have been the man. He might not have been as good for the long haul, but he fits the look to me. Dresses well, can go in the ring. Just a personification of a champion. Now, here's another guy, kind of like Nick Aldis. Maybe he wouldn't be able to fit the long haul because he wasn't going to be the Ric Flair, but kind of a throwback. Nick Bockwinkel, fancy suit, can work in the ring, can cut a great promo. I think Nick Bockwinkel could have made a good Horseman. Same with Stan Lane. Stan Lane of the Midnight Express. You know, people pick the Midnight Express because, yeah, they're a great team. They would have made great matches. But Stan fit that look more than Bobby did. And another guy I had to include to kind of have a little modern era flavor in there, Adam Cole. Adam Cole's got the look. He can wrestle. He can talk in the ring. And if you've been listening to me on these 5-3 runs, you know what a big Adam Cole market fan I am. So that's my list.
Nice. Now, kind of from the names that you've heard, I mean, Stunning Steve's definitely popped up a couple times. Rick Rude's popped up a couple times. Who do you think should go into that last spot? I mean, Chris Jericho's on a few lists. MJF's on a couple. Midnight Express. Since 1 and 2 are such a definite spot, I'm going to let you pick the number 3 from what you think is best.
Boy. Based off the names that were tossed around, I think that MJF, honestly, should slip in there. He wasn't on my list, but I thought about putting him on it. But, like, when you look at guys like Jericho and Rude, even though, like, they mean more overall with their body of work, MJF, his ability to talk, the look he has, I just think he personifies what a Horseman should look like a little more.
Yeah, definitely with that designer scarf he wears and just the way he's always dressed nice when you don't see him in the ring. He definitely has that air about him where he could definitely make it, I think.
I think so.
So now it comes to the first cut. We got Stunning Steve Austin, Rick Rude, and MJF. Who do you feel should go first?
All right. Again, I'm going to take a look at this like in the big picture. Rick Rude, tremendous career. He's got the look, but there's just something where, you know, like Stunning Steve Austin at points of his career, he played that member in the Dangerous Alliance where he was kind of second fiddle to Rick Rude, if you look at that. Rude didn't play second fiddle a lot. I don't know if ultimately, when we're looking at fitting in the Horseman, he would have been the guy out of the three. Like, I think he would have had the most trouble fitting in. Too much of a strong mind. Even behind the scenes, like, Rick was one of the guys that didn't like having Bobby Heenan because he didn't want a mouthpiece. And how often do you hear somebody not wanting Bobby Heenan?
Yeah, Bobby Heenan's gold anytime. But it also shows you where Rick Rude believes his abilities are, where it's like, I got this. I don't need Heenan.
No, and he's tremendous. I just don't know if that mindset is what you want him for.
So you see Rick Rude as the first one out. That was kind of what I was thinking, too, because it's kind of a tough pick between Stunning Steve and MJF. I mean, I think on the face of it, MJF seems the more obvious choice. But, I mean, we've seen that Steve Austin can be that ass kicker. And at the time that he would have been in the Horsemen, I mean, he still had that long blonde hair, especially if you have the idea of bringing him in with Pillman as the Hollywood Blondes. That would have been like the younger half of the Horsemen, but, I mean, just what a team.
I think most of our fans like the older stuff. I think they would actually better us pick Stunning Steve Austin. And I love Stunning Steve Austin. I like Stunning Steve and Stone Cold Steve Austin better than I like MJF, and that's not a slight at MJF. It's just both of them are my two favorite characters of all time. However, again, when I look at who's going to fit in the Horseman better, even Stunning Steve in his prime, I don't know. I mean, he's good. He definitely fits in more than Rude would have. But I just think there's something about MJF. The more I think about it, I wish I would have included him on my list. But the more I think about it, I really feel like MJF would have been a great, Tully. Like, he just would have been piss you off, shit on you, get the whole crap, especially back in that time period, just to hate you.
Yeah, he would have gotten that Cornette level heat. So actually, that is a really good pick. All right, so
I say if it's a hot take or not, I like MJF. I don't care. That's what I think.
And I mean, Dave, you know what the music means. I think we've picked our winner this week, and MJF is the top person that should have been a Horseman.
And I'll say on this too. And if you don't like it, it's because he's better than you, and you know it.
Dave's getting that plug in, so hopefully we can get him on the show one day.
Got to get my shit in, brother. I'm trying to get over here too.
God, I know. At least two of us got to get over out of this group, right? But you know how to get a hold of us. We're on Twitter at FansWorking. We are on Instagram, WorkingFansWrestling_pod. We're on Gmail, WorkingFansWrestlingPod@gmail.com. And we'll see you guys later.
Guys, thank you for listening to the 531 here on YouTube this week. If you like what you hear, you can always find us on Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and on the Apple Podcast where you can subscribe and also give us a 5-star rating. We appreciate you listening. We want your feedback, 531, and if you agree with us, if you disagree with us, we also want you to let us know. And let us know what your 531 would be. Come up with a top 5 and let us know, and we'll tell you why you're wrong. And in order for us to do that, please contact us on Twitter. We're at FansWorking. Facebook page, Working Fans Wrestling Pod. Email, WorkingFansWrestlingPod@gmail.com. It's very important that you actually contact us on these platforms because we want this to be your interactive place to talk wrestling.